Hello, everyone. It's Mel from Easy Weddings, and I've got Belinda Letts here, one of our account managers. Welcome to our webinar on how to close your leads. We're going to take you through some sales tips, talk through some basic marketing strategies, and talk about sort of managing your pipeline. Great to see everybody coming through. Welcome. Hi, Craig.
There's more and more coming through.
Amazing.
Let us know who you are and what business you're from. We would love to know that.
Yeah, check out the chat section. Yep, it looks like some people already have. Great. Hi, Steve. Hi, Mandy. Great to see you. Keep chatting away, introducing yourself. When we set up this webinar, we sort of put a little call out there for anyone to submit their questions. So we've tried to answer as many questions as possible in this webinar, but we'll also do a Q&A later on. So pop in some questions as you go along through the webinar into this chat as well, and we'll try to get through as many as possible. Excellent. Good to see some familiar faces, some familiar names. And
Familiar
Tasha Hill,
names there.
Yep. Awesome. Love to see it. Hope your 2022 has started off awesome. Can't believe it's February already, but here we are. This is our first webinar back. It's been really great, really well received. We've had a really high number of registrants, so it's awesome to have you all here. Super enthusiastic to have you. Oh, while everyone's jumping in, I'm just going to do what I usually do and start a poll. Let us know which category you belong to. Usually we get a lot of celebrants, some venue people, photographers. So just, let us know. If I hit publish, that will work. As I mentioned, while we're sort of doing the poll, we've got Belle here. Some people might know Belle from Easy Weddings, but she also is a celebrant. She's her business is called Wedding Belle Celebrant. She's been in the wedding industry for over 10 years, so she's got a lot of pretty much all aspects of the wedding industry from venues. She worked. One of her sort of key sort of things was when she was in Brisbane, she sort of built up a wedding venue, sort of function venue from the ground up. It was a $14 million venue. I think it was a rugby club. So sort of a bit of a huge branding exercise and marketing exercise for Belle. She's also worked on Daydream Island in the Whitsundays, working for sales and marketing, bunch of venue stuff, and of course as Easy Weddings for a few years. I'm going to end this poll now. So a lot of venue people, great, love to see it. Celebrants, photographers, and a few other different categories there, great. And I'm just going to do another poll just to find out how long you guys have been in business. Just a rough estimate, just so we know if we've got mostly sort of newbies or more established. Yeah, we've got some 5+ here. Excellent. Good to see. But obviously we're going to talk about like all different, we're going to give you some tips that is going to be relevant for all sorts of experience levels. So
and we're pretty easy to remember, Mel and Belle. And if there's some barking, I do blame my little sidekick down here, Nash. He'll probably pop his head up at some point throughout the webinar.
Excellent. So it looks like we've got a pretty good mix. Majority is less than 2 years and a high level of 5+. So our what we're covering today is going to be relevant to all types of experience levels. So great, terrific. All right, well, let's get into it.
Today's webinar, so what we're going to do is we're going to cover turning your target audience into potential customers, what your digital presence says about your brand, strategies to the art of closing you could be missing, tracking your pipeline, and Q&As. So I definitely recommend, if you do have a notepad nearby, definitely grab some pen and paper to write some questions and some notes along the way. And hello, everybody.
I love this. Rebecca's just said Mel Bell. Yeah, we should make a hashtag Mel Bell. Just some housekeeping too. I forgot to mention, we're recording this webinar and we will send out the replay link after the webinar is done. So you can either watch it again, or those people who aren't attending live, they will also get a replay link, which they will know because they'll be watching it now. So just so you know that just so you can you know what to expect.
I love Rebecca said Note app is open. She's much more trendy than me with a pen and paper.
Oh, I'm so old school. I've got my four pen clicker here. I do everything like analog. It's great. Yeah, so a lot of our data we will be referencing today. We do our annual industry report. We just wrapped up one at the end of last year, and someone is ringing me. I'm just going to turn that off. Sorry about that. So yeah, our insights came from over 3,000 couples. I think we had about 500 to 600 businesses as well. We also have reviews from 280,000 reviews that were left for our couples on Easy Weddings. We've also polled our 47,000 Instagram followers, and we've also taken some data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics on marriage numbers, and also just some insights from the thousands of couples who use our website. So if you haven't downloaded that, you can scan that QR code. We'll also pop it on the screen a little bit later, and I'll share it at the end when I send the replay link. I'll also share a link to that. So if you don't catch it now, you can catch it later.
All
so
right.
Over to you, Belle.
Turning your target audience into potential customers. So I know that we are all here for the ins and outs of how to sell couples, but I think I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't get into, before we can even get a sale or have someone considering us, we really need to touch base on marketing. So do we know who our ideal client is? Are we visible where our ideal client is looking or planning their wedding? Are we appealing to our ideal client? And is your service location on your website, your Easy Wedding storefront, and your socials? Like, I've jumped on a number of websites over the years. I can't even tell what state the business is, let alone what areas they're servicing. So that might be a little note to take down to go through and check all of your platforms. So our top 3 buying influences told to us by couples is upfront pricing, relevant photos, and positive reviews. So just going in that a little bit further, so upfront pricing, I know for some categories can be a little bit difficult, but list a price range. My prices are range between X and X, or a starting price. You know, this package starts from, really, really important. Quality images across all platforms, so Easy Weddings, website, socials, make sure they're visually trending and pleasing. So partner with a talented and local photographer or videographer for a styled shoot. Make sure all your platforms are trendy and up to date, and follow up with photographers and couples after the wedding, and make sure that you are receiving that great quality content, and of course crediting the great quality suppliers that you're working with, and making sure your reviews are where couples are looking. So couples do scroll through a list of suppliers, definitely on Easy Weddings. Seeing one review next to one supplier and 80 reviews next to one supplier, you're going to be more drawn towards the reviews. So just make sure you do have reviews over all platforms. Keeping in mind, Easy Weddings is here to try and help you with that. You do get your very own unique link on Easy Weddings, as well as we do have a call service where we can call and follow up your couples following the wedding. On top of that, we also do give away 10K a year. So every 3 months, we are giving away $2,500. And all the couple has to do is put in one, a review, and they go in the draw to win, and that's drawn every 3 months. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, that's a really important sort of selling point, or as a way in to encourage your clients to leave a review. We draw that winner every quarter. So we're just about to draw this first quarter's, I think last year, end of last year's quarter winner, and they'll win $2.5 grand. So it's always good to remind your couples that they've got a chance of doing that. And all they have to do to be eligible is just leave at least one review on our platform. So yeah. Win-win.
Awesome. Yes, exactly. So a lot of you are probably online with Easy Weddings, so you'll be very familiar with our WED CRM. It actually stands for Wedding Customer Relationship Manager. It's basically your back-end portal to everything to update. What does your digital presence say about your brand? Regularly log into the back end of all your platforms and make sure they are up to date. We do, of course, have a number of amazing partnership managers in-house that are here to support you and assist you updating everything. So in the back end of the CRM, there's a storefront tab, particularly focusing on your photos, your videos, anything that's visual and going to draw people in. You will notice that we have launched a brand new website in December, which is very exciting. So we used to be like 3 squares for the photos, and now you have the option of editing your photos, editing where they're sitting. So just making sure on the front end and the back end that everything is looking good and flowing nicely. So your Easy Weddings storefront. So one thing I really like to do is go to the front end of Easy Weddings, and then I go to the category that I'm servicing as well as the region that I'm advertising in. So I can see how do I come up against my competitors. So you'll notice that some people have more reviews than others, some have better photos than others, some have a better listing image than others. So just making sure, is this photo the best representation of my brand? And once they click on my storefront, will they want to know more? So just making sure that everything is up to date, and we do have an entire webinar on updating your storefront that Mel will send out after today's webinar.
Yeah, so if you tuned into our last webinar, it was late November, and Beck, our brand manager, and I took you through the trends, sort of a bit of a deep dive into our industry report that I mentioned earlier. So I'll share a link to that when I share out the replay link. You can have a watch of that if you missed it.
Awesome. Thanks, Mel.
Oh, this is my slide. Yes.
How to subtly tell her this is your slide without saying this is your slide.
So it's really important to, I mean, a lot of our suppliers will already know this, but it's also a good reminder that 73% of couples will find us on Easy Weddings or find our suppliers on Easy Weddings, and then they won't actually make a direct inquiry through Easy Weddings. They will leave our platform and go and do some more research. So obviously 27% will actually make a direct inquiry through Easy Weddings, which you'll find a notification through your Wed CRM, as Bal mentioned earlier. But 37%, which is over a third, will actually go to the website, to your own website, and do a bit more exploring. This is particularly important if you are a very visual supplier, like a photographer, videographer. You know, with our Easy Weddings listing, you can only sort of put, I think it's 20 photos. So obviously on your own website and socials, you've got an opportunity to showcase a lot more of that. You've got galleries. There's a lot more that you can show about your business. So a lot of the time, those sorts of higher spend categories, they'll probably leave Easy Weddings and go over to your website to sort of do a bit more search. We also found that, obviously socials are a really big play a really big part of your branding and your marketing. So 19% of our couples will actually go over there and check you out on Instagram, mostly to sort of get a bit more of a feel of what you're about. And obviously online reviews, as Bel mentioned earlier, they play a really huge part in sort of getting that social proof. So, you know, if you've got Google reviews or Facebook reviews or anywhere else, any other review platform that you use, and obviously talking with family and friends for recommendations as well before they sort of make a commitment. So yeah, that's just important to know that, you know, what your reflection of you know, the bookings that you might receive through Easy Weddings is not the only is sort of not where our couples end. They might start Easy Weddings and then move off our platform to make an inquiry, but they're still sort of found you through Easy Weddings. It's also really interesting. So I attended I was really lucky to go to Vegas at the end of last year for the Wedding MBA, which is like the world's sort of leading conference in the wedding industry. I attended some classes by this really amazing speaker. She's Renee Darlow. She's an educator and event planner. She was talking about when she initially entered into the wedding business, her ideal client was anybody that inquired. anyone and everyone. She just wanted to just get the work. And she realized that a lot of the time the effort wasn't really worth the reward, or she wasn't really targeting the right people and they weren't converting to leads. And so it was a lot of time wasted. So what she realized is that not every client is the right client for you. So it's really important to invest less time in appealing to a broad market and more time in appealing to your niche market. So she was talking about the way that you kind of get around this is to be really clear about who you are and what your community is. Use the language of your community in your marketing. Obviously, you want to still be formal and everything, but just think about how your community sort of communicates and talks, and use that sort of language and messaging on your website and your social, and while you're developing your portfolio as well, to attract the like for like. Use cohesive branding. So she's saying, not just, my color is pink or so forth, but it's more just demonstrating your vibe through your photos, your language, and your social presence. So I know that, I think I mentioned this in previous webinars. I got married last year, and the celebrant I chose was a really hyperactive girl that has, tattoos and bright fuchsia colored hair, because that matched the brand that I wanted for my own wedding. So, and her target audience is those sort of alternative sort of people. She that's her market. So she's present where those people are, where they hang out. She uses the language of their community.
She's not trying to be someone she's not, essentially.
Exactly. So yeah, think about that. And also another really important factor is great way to connect with your community on a personal level is video. And we'll be talking more about our target audience being millennials and the sort of older Gen Z. They love being present online, Instagram, TikTok, all those sorts of social media platforms. It can be really daunting if you're not really familiar with using that and putting yourself out there. You might think, well, I'm a florist, I'll let the product speak for itself. But think about it, people buy from people. They want they want to know who they're going to be working with on the day, and they want that sort of personal relationship build up, especially if they're planning.
There is no more personal industry than the wedding industry.
Exactly. Especially if they're planning over 22 months, is our average engagement time. They want to sort of feel like they get to know you over the period of their journey. So, and she says, it is intimidating, but if it's going to help sell you, it's definitely worth putting yourself out there. In terms of telling your brand story visually, just ask yourself, how do you come across both on your website as mobile and PC? Because obviously, if your website is not mobile enabled, you're going to look a little bit, it's going to have different capabilities if your couple is sort of sitting on the couch watching The Bachelor, scrolling through, you want it to be user friendly. Are you regularly posting on your socials? So if you only post every 4 months on Instagram because you forget, or you're busy, or you can't be bothered, it might give an indication to your couple that maybe you're not that invested in your business, or you may not be working at the moment. So just think about that regular rhythm of posting. And we've spoken in previous webinars about using those platforms like Later or whatever, various other ones that you can sort of schedule a whole bunch of posts and just let it go. Obviously, if you don't have the resources, the time to sort of do it, think about hiring someone as a contractor or something to do that for you. It's also important to, again, think about how you're appealing to your target market. Does your sort of brand connect with what your couples are interested in for their day? And we've talked about, we'll talk a little bit more about, what's in trend and what couples are looking for. But couples are going to book suppliers that match their vibe. So if you can match them in your brand story, they're more likely to think that you're in line with them. And also make sure that all your digital platforms have the same feel. We sort of throw around this term, all roads must lead home. So it's more just like a cohesive branding message. Are you using the same logo on all of your different platforms? Are you using similar types of vibe, photos, all that sort of stuff, so that if a couple finds you on Easy Weddings and then moves over to your Instagram, they can instantly recognize that this is the same company.
Yeah, and like people may end up back at your website and all roads lead home. It's like, how did they get there, and everything needs to direct to the one place, which the website is generally your portal for everything. Like, I know that people aren't necessarily going to go, oh, I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to search Wedding Bell Celebrant. Like, who is Wedding Bell Celebrant? They're going to search potentially Yarra Valley Celebrant, which something like Easy Weddings would pop up. They'll search through a directory and then shortlist who they want, check out my Instagram, check out my website, and things like that.
So yeah, make it easy for the couple to identify that you are that same business. So in terms of thinking about what to do next, yeah, think about your Instagram, making reels, being on TikTok. That's where our sort of newer couples are hanging out, the younger sort of demographic. Draw on, as I said, trending styles and themes. You know what couples are booking. You know, they're really inspired by the sort of soft, sort of romantic colour schemes, and you know, what sort of the styles at the moment are rustic, which has always been quite popular for the last few years, modern minimalist sort of stylings, and also yeah, the romantic, as I mentioned. So thinking about what couples like, maybe intertwining that into your own elements, and obviously test. Ask the people, if you've got friends and family who might be in that younger demographic, ask them what they're drawn to, and if something's not working on your socials or your website, mix it up a little bit and see if you get a better response by, you know, changing things around a little bit.
So one speaker that I really like is Wedding Callie. She's actually based in the UK. And as you can see on the left-hand side, investing in quality images will pay dividends for your business. If I saw the top photo, I would not be going out and visiting that venue. It's so, like, I saw those seat covers 8 years ago, you know, and, you know, the colors change, the seat covers, the sashes. I haven't seen that for a long time. But in terms of what's trending at the moment, you've got your beautiful Tiffany chairs, you've got your beautiful styling, very modern and beautiful for that particular venue. So to attract quality and quantity of weddings, you must put the right marketing imagery, you know, front and foremost. So images, this is what couples are telling us they want to see. They want to see emotional images. They don't want so much staged images. They want to see real life moments being captured. They want it to be authentic, and they want it to be crisp and good quality images. So trending themes and styles in the latest survey. So we've got rustic, modern, minimalistic, romantic, classic, and boho. And again, we'll send you a previous webinar recording that's going to go through this in a lot more detail. So how do you get quality images? So I get asked this a lot by the suppliers that I work with at Easy Weddings. So if you're an established business, ask your couple for a list of suppliers before their wedding. I do this every single wedding. The reason being, I like to follow other people in the industry. I like to tag other people that are affiliated in that wedding. And I also introduce myself to a photographer and a venue in the lead up to the wedding. First, I think it's good for them to have your contact details and a number, but also just letting them know a little bit about me, that I'll stand to the side, that I'm here to work with them. We'll work around the lighting. I'll stay out of photos as much as possible. And then follow up a photographer after a wedding. I'm sure photographers on here today, do not reach out to them the day after the wedding, because they are not going to have the images ready, but at least 2 to 3 months after, they probably have the gallery ready. And I'm sure as long as you're crediting them along all platforms, usually they would be more than happy to share that with you. So definitely crediting our fellow teammates.
And Rebecca Bianca Photography has just said that she loves sharing photos with suppliers. So definitely, you've heard it from the horse's mouth. I'm not calling you a horse, Rebecca. But yeah, like, you know, it's all about creating that community, and as long as you're sort of, you're crediting where relevant, then, you know.
Thanks, Heather. I got you. It's fine. And it's funny, I know a lot of these names, so I know who's photographers, who's venues, who's celebrants. I love it. Small industry over the last 10 years, hey? So share user-generated content. So make couples do the work for you. Like, I always follow up I follow them on Instagram in the lead up. We DM each other all the time. You know, you kind of get that little bit of relationship, even if it's just liking their story. If you haven't done many weddings, or if you're a relatively new business, it's probably a little bit different, but start with a styled shoot. It's going to pay dividends. Get a photographer involved, get a videographer involved. And if you don't want to invest in a photographer just yet, make sure you have quality lighting and camera, like a good quality camera or a good quality mobile. Okay, so back in 2017, one of my jobs in Brisbane was I started up a rugby club from scratch. It was a beautiful venue, but they'd put a $14 million renovation in a car park in Brisbane, and they said, "Belle, bring in work." I said, okay. So I started with a styled shoot. I called in some favors. This is a rugby club, and I turned it into a wedding venue. So just by getting people involved, sometimes they're happy to work for referrals in the future, definitely pay them. Sometimes they're happy to work at a discounted rate if you refer them in the future as well. But if you tee it up right, the content is going to be reflective for all brands. So, for example, Luke Middlemiss, if you're on this, great photographer, Sunshine Coast, Brisbane based. He helped me out with this. I called up some local stylists and florists that really wanted more work in my area, loved the venue. So we made it, we presented it at its best light. And of course, that brought people into the venue in the first place. You may recognize this groom on here. He was on Married at First Sight quite a few years ago, but this was before Married at First Sight. So there you go, small world. The suit company provided the model, and the beautiful couture company provided the model as well. And it was a really fun styled shoot, and something that we could all then use the hundreds and hundreds of images. Whether it was the florist, the stylist, the venue, we all used it and we all credited each other. So it was great fun.
That's awesome. Heather East has just said that she's got an upcoming styled session plan and she needs some more suppliers. So she'd love to hear from people. Heather, if you want to chuck in your email address or your Instagram handle, please feel free to do that. And then you can sort of create that dialogue with anyone interested, and your area as well. Awesome.
Awesome. And I love seeing like agreeing comments. That's awesome, because Natasha is a veteran in the industry. I know Natasha from my Brisbane days, so I love it. So if you're not quite there, not quite ready to invest in a photographer yet, all these images I took on my mobile. I literally went to my parents' immaculate backyard before I was a celebrant, and I got mum to take a few photos for me. She doesn't take as many photos as I would want her to take, but we did it, we got there. Before one of my first weddings, I was really lucky. One of my friends was there, and she could take some photos with me standing near the ceremony site. So again, good quality settings are going to create good quality images, and even having a quality phone and lighting and ring light. Like, I picked mine up, Aldi, middle section, $30, Braun, Mel's got one, Kmart.
Yeah, you can't really see it's on an angle, but yeah, this was about, I think it was about $60 or $70 from Kmart, and I love it.
I think you got ripped off, Mel. I paid $30, special deal, Aldi, middle aisle, highly recommend. Awesome. So how easy is it to contact you? So on Easy Weddings, the cool thing is if they're signed in, they're using the app. Name, email, phone number, wedding date, wedding location, that stuff's pre-formulated. So all they have to do is write a message, click inquire now, and that will go directly to who they're looking to purchase from. This is an example of my contact page on my website. So having a clear call to action on every page. So every page ends with a contact form, just so they don't have to keep searching around for it. Keep your contact form between 5 to 8 boxes maximum. Like, I've seen people asking for bride surname, groom surname, couple's preferred number, couple's secondary number, couple's address. It's just not relevant. Just get the basic information that's going to help you. And I've even seen like contact pages that's like, hey, please inquire with this email address. And if I was a couple, I would then have to copy the email address, open another browser, log into my emails, paste the email address, think of an email I want to send. It's just all too hard. If you want to stop the bounce rate off your website, make it easy and make it clear. Cool. So another thing that I've done is I've got a how did you hear about me, and don't make my mistake. Initially I kept that open and everyone just put the word online in. So not very helpful for me. Where am I going to spend my marketing dollars? So social media, easy weddings, referral from a friend, referral from a supplier, Google search, or whatever you're doing. Just try and keep it, again, short, sweet, concise. Like, some people have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I just feel like it all falls in social media. So just keep it simple. Beautiful. So how the end of your contact form finishes will actually make a difference in terms of how many people are going to inquire with you. So I've tested this myself. I've seen contact forms end with things like marry me or book me, and I feel like that's quite assumptuous, I suppose. Just by changing it from inquire now to check my date, my bounce through rate actually reduced on my website. So if you were a planner, you might have plan my dream. There's so many different ways that you can write it. It doesn't just have to be submit or inquire now.
I just had a question from Sue Warner just asking about the check my date. Would you recommend like a Calendly or a booking system or something with unavailable dates or anything? Or is that too complicated?
I personally don't, because you have to be very on top of updating it. And if you're not on top of updating it, I personally don't. Again, it would depend what category you're in. As a celebrant, you might only do one wedding per day, so that probably restricts a day for you. A florist might be able to do 4 weddings a day. Like it would really vary. If you're tech savvy and happy to keep everything up to date, then certainly use a check my date service. That's no problem. Yeah, good question. Okay, so what we're all here for, the strategies to the art of closing you could be missing. So Alan Berg is one of my favorite speakers. He is a wedding business consultant in the US. He is a podcaster. He has done books on selling to the wedding industry. He's basically an all-round wedding guru. And one of the favorite things that he's written that I've ever read is change your mindset from selling to helping them buy. So I think that resonates. So no one wants to go somewhere and be sold, right? But everyone wants to buy a wedding service. That's exciting. So it's just how we look at sales a little bit different. So how millennials and Gen Z communicate. So modern couples are obsessed with their phones but likely won't answer. Okay, so how do they prefer suppliers to make contact with them? So email, phone, and SMS. So it's pretty clear that email was the clear winner in the recent survey. Yeah, so that's pretty good insight to couples.
And this is we asked them how do you prefer to communicate with your couple? So this is sort of the back and forth as well as the initial contact as well. So yeah, email was the very clear leader. And as a general tip, we usually say the best way to respond to a question from a potential client is the same way that they contacted you. So if you've started a dialogue and you've got a back and forth going, but then they send you a text, if it's convenient and it's a quick yes/no question, great, reply back with a text. It just makes sense that way.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, again, just what Mel said, how to respond to the potential client, the exact same way they contacted you. So speed of response is really going to impact your conversion rates, right? So 19% of couples booked their first supplier that got back to them, and 92% booked suppliers based on the information they received within a reasonable time frame. I am seeing your questions here, and hopefully the webinar does go through what we need to respond, and hopefully we start to see a better response rate as well. So seeing your questions, reading your questions, we will get through them at the end, but hopefully we answer along the way. So send them inquiries ASAP. As soon as you're available to send them a response, please do that. Set up your templates through the WED CRM. Download the WED CRM app.
Sorry, just repeat that, Belle. I think you froze. I don't know if it's my end or everybody.
Oh, sorry. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So set up your templates through your WED CRM. Download the WED CRM app for mobile notifications, and also draft response templates to your phone notes. That way, no matter where you are, you're able to respond, okay? You'll see how you can send a response to the inquiry in the CRM. So what is your template saying about your business? And again, I am seeing that we're not getting a response, so potentially we're not giving them all the information that they're needing. So some of my top tips for your initial email template: keep your email short. Millennials have a short attention span and are generally reading off their phone. No more than 2 pages on your mobile. Add personalization. Make it about them and their wedding and less about you and your business. Offer some upfront pricing, packages, price range, or starting price. Ask questions. While price may be a factor, couples buy based on emotion, so your response is about them and appeal to their emotions. So what I mean by that is, from a venue perspective, I might say, hey, like, how many guests are you thinking of having? Were you thinking of a sit-down meal or a cocktail meal? By asking them some questions, you're starting to trigger a response. And it's the same with a ceremony. Like, what are you thinking for your ceremony? Are you looking for something a little bit more traditional or a little bit more laid back? Again, asking questions is also triggering a response rather than, hey, here's all my info, get back to me. So finish an email with a call to action. I never want to see, I hope to hear from you soon at the last sentence of an email. I will go through this in a lot more detail in the next slide, but it's more likely to trigger a response. So if you're not sure if your initial email is effective, test it. If you're saying you're not getting a response, well, we need to change a few things in your initial email. Send your template to a 25 to 35-year-old female and get their say. That's generally speaking who's inquiring with a celebrant. It might be slightly different for your category, but whoever your target market is, get someone in that demographic to read your email for you and give you some tips. Another tip is to send the email to yourself. And how does it look on your mobile? Because I guarantee I see my emails on my mobile well before I'm logging into my emails on my computer. So definitely that's a top tip for you.
So some of the questions that have just come through will be answered in the next couple of slides in terms of, when couples inquire with you, they ask a price, and then that's it. So Belle will kind of go through some tactics on a stronger call to action, which is sort of what you want the next step to be.
Yeah. And I guess, like, I've consulted businesses for a long time. I've been with Easy Weddings for nearly 4 years as a business advisor here. And like a lot of people, I say, like, what's your call to action? And they say to book the couple. And that's actually not the call to action. A call to action is the step before that. So for example, people aren't going to book a venue without booking a site tour. So say, hey, I'm available this Saturday. I've got time for an inspection between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Your wedding's probably starting from 3, I'm just assuming here. And say I currently have 10 a.m., 11 a.m. or 1:30 p.m. available. Do any of those times suit you? If they're not available at that time, they'll come back and book in another weekend or another twilight inspection. As a celebrant, I personally do my initial meet and greets on Zoom. I know some of you prefer to do an in-drink in person. There is no right or wrong, but making sure they're clear on the call to action and giving them 2 to 3 times that you're available, they're more likely to come back to you. Examples for a transport business. Transport is a little bit different because you're going to need to know more information about where the pickup location is so you can quote it properly, where the drop-off location is. it potentially your call to action might be setting up a quick phone call to organize or know that information, or you could ask them, I'm happy to email you the questions I need or set up a phone call. Some transport companies I work with have a showroom and they're happy to show people around the cars as well. So transport is a little bit different. But like hair and makeup, book a trial. I wouldn't book a hair and makeup artist without trialing their work, seeing if that suits my face, my skin tone. And catering and cakes, book in a tasting. Okay. Beautiful. So wedding kits, packages, pricing and discounts. I'm going to hand this one over to you, Mel.
Yeah, sure. And just before we move on, I've just put in a little note in the chat. It's awesome to see everybody back and forth talking about their relationships with other suppliers, possibly different categories. There's a photographer talking about they're doing a wedding coming up at one of the venues, which is really great. We love really supporting our business community to come together and network. So I've just popped in a link to the Wedding Industry Social Club. It's a Facebook group. This is separate to our our general page where we just talk about what's happening in Easy Weddings. This is a community for, at the moment, we've got close to 3,000 wedding businesses. So this is not where couples hang out. This is just purely for wedding businesses to have those sorts of conversations that are happening in the chat right now. We love that. We love the networking opportunities and taking that dialogue further. So yeah, please do sign up to that if you're not already a member, and if you are, reach out to your community and ask them those sorts of questions. So yeah.
And just quickly, Mel, Vivian's just asked me a question on entertainment call to action. You guys are challenging me today. I love it. This is good. I really like the questions. Questions means we're engaged, so that's awesome. Entertainment can be slightly different. I mean, there's bands, there's DJs, there's duos. Every call to action might be slightly different, which isn't probably the answer you're looking for. For particularly music, so some musicians that I started out with, they used to do like a showcase once a month at a particular venue where on a Wednesday night they would play at the same venue on a Wednesday the first week of every month, and they bought things, like they brought their couples to that venue, they had a drink. For music as well, I kind of feel like videos are amazing now. Like instead of sending yourself out to a gig every month and not knowing who's going to turn up, you could potentially, your call to action might be, here's some videos that you can look at my work. If you feel comfortable, I'd be happy to organize a phone chat, a Zoom chat, to see what style you're looking for, and then I can send through a correct proposal. So there's no one size fits all for absolutely every business, and every business is different, but trialing and testing and just making sure you are finishing with a call to action.
And yeah, it's important, as Belle mentioned before, your call to action isn't book now, it's the step that comes before that. So yeah, terrific. All right, well, talking about wedding kits, packages, pricing and discounts. So we talked a bit before about, if people inquire and they're like, what's your price? Someone in the chat said, a lot of couples will just say, what's your price? Because they don't know what else to ask. And we also know from our data shows us that couples will usually spend about a quarter more than what they initially budgeted for. So the really important thing is to demonstrate your value, not just your price. So we had a chat with the founder of Enrique Limousine, Peter. He came in and talked to our team, and he basically said, the secret for his success is talking about his value and what his point of difference is that sets him apart from other competitors in the market. So it's not just price driven, it's that service that you get when you book one of his drivers. You get this. It's not just a car, it's a service. So he said, basically, we're not a car business, we're a wedding business. So the wedding industry is all about people, and your focus needs to be on the customer, not on your product. So have that in your front of mind and think about, how do you demonstrate value, not just what's your price. We talked about Alan Berg before. He said, in terms of offering a discount, he sort of discourages people from offering discounts, just because he says that if someone's inquiring about, if someone's asking, do you have a discount or whatever, they're usually further down that sales pipeline than they might have initially been. So they're already considering you as a potential booking. They're probably going to book you anyway, regardless of whether you give them a discount or not.
If they're asking for a discount and they've already been given that price with another vendor and it was too good to refuse, they would have booked that other vendor.
So he used the example that Apple very rarely offers discounts on their products, but people still buy them regardless. So he did, and he also sort of mentioned in terms of pricing, the best thing to do is to offer packages. Usually have 3. He calls it the Goldilocks theory or the Goldilocks model. He basically says have a really basic offer that is very restricted. Have a high-end package that's like the aspirational, all the bells and whistles, so that try to make the sort of middle one look like the best option, balance between the not very much and the everything package, because most people will choose that, and sort of think of that package too as the package that's going to give you the best sort of markup and the best sort of the best sort of bang for your buck, but also market it in a way that looks like it's going to offer your customer the most incredible value. So the reason being behind that is that he says that if you sort of offer an a la carte sort of a la carte itemized service, you're spending a lot of time and labor in sort of price checking and quoting all those things. There's a lot of back and forth. If you offer a specific package, the couple knows what they're getting, you know what you're getting, and there's sort of no grey area. So he said, obviously, if you want to add on something a little bit later on, like if you're a photographer and you want to offer an additional photography or an additional hour, that's they can still include the normal package, but they can have that as an add-on, and it just saves that time back and forth quoting.
And like the different packages is relevant for every single industry. I mean, the only one it might not be is like hire and styling, which is bringing an item to a particular location, but you could still have, for this bundle, it starts from venue, transport will apply. So I'm seeing some questions around they're going for the cheap option, discounts are a point of easy weddings. We don't recommend discounts, to be honest. We recommend special offers. So what I mean by a special offer is giving away added value. I don't necessarily like discounts. I think they devalue the industry a little bit. But for example, I might be a venue and I'm trying to fill, I don't have enough bookings, say in June. So maybe I am going to give away more added value in June than I would someone looking in October on one of my peak dates. So I might give away, if you book your wedding in June this year, then receive complimentary canapes on me. Now that might save the couple $20 a person, that hour of canapes where it's entertaining guests between ceremony and reception. But for me, that might cost me like $2 to $3 a person to actually send out that product. So they're feeling like they're getting value, but it's actually not devaluing the bottom line of what I'm trying to bring into the business. So if you are finding, Steve, that they're booking the cheaper option, then set restrictions behind the cheaper options. So say you were doing a legals only ceremony, maybe you want to only offer that package Monday to Thursday. Keep your key dates for people that are prepared to spend with you. I'm not prepared to do a cheap wedding on a Saturday. I offer 2 packages. I don't do legals only. I've got an essential bell ceremony package and an all the bells and whistles. Goes with the name. But, kind of that gold, silver, bronze package is important. And sometimes people say to me, hey, Belle, I want some inclusions out of package 2 and package 3. And then what they do is, if I'm going to take away cost, I'm taking away value. So I'm meeting them halfway. If they're wanting to meet somewhere in between, that's fine, but they're not going to get all the inclusions for package 3 at a lower rate.
Yeah, I think the key thing is to just don't sell yourself short. If couples are booking your basic package, make it basicer than basic, and really pack that middle package as, this is a really great option, just to sort of, give them a bit more of an idea of, make it worth your while as well.
Yeah, and they may have not even known you do some things in package 3 and they might be intrigued. So yeah, they're going to build their own package between the packages, but just know what each item in your brain is roughly worth and negotiate.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll hand this over to you, Belle.
Awesome. So packages, wedding kits and attachments. So I think we live in such a lucky era that there's so many free programs as business owners that we can use. So like, for example, I see attachments of people sending out something on Microsoft Word with not a single photo. We're a wedding industry. People love being visual. This is a reflection of your brand, right? Instead, copy and paste the content into Canva. It's free to use. You can use pretty templates, add pretty photos, give an indication of pricing, and then of course add that travel fees may apply depending on your region and your category. So I personally, I don't attach a PDF. I actually link a PDF. So what I mean by this is I have a hidden landing page on my website. I say, please follow the link to my packages, and I shorten the link with a program called Bitly. So it looks like bit.ly/XYZ. Has anyone, I'm not sure if we've heard of Bitly before, but we will send you a little bit of information following this webinar, and have 3 set packages and then talk about what they can add on as well if you'd like to. So the reason I don't attach a PDF, I do find, again, a lot of our millennials, our Gen Zs, they're reading their mobile off they're reading your email off their phone. Sometimes attachments go to the bottom, sometimes they go to the top, sometimes we don't see them and they are more likely to go to junk mail. So yeah, talk to us about different ways of how you can get that PDF to them without, deleting the PDF altogether.
So I'll just run through this pretty quickly because we're coming close to the hour and we're most likely going to run over. So if you need if you need to leave a bang on the hour, please do. We will definitely send you all the resources and the replay link afterwards. We appreciate that, your time, you might be on your lunch break. But yeah, so basically I talked about Renee Darlow earlier. She was talking about her wedding kits and her packages, and she tries to customize them as best as possible based on what she's learned from that sort of discovery call while she's talking to her clients. So she finds out what their pain points are, what they're most worried about, and what they really want, what their vision is, and she will sort of tailor it to them. So, for example, if a couple is talking about that they want to involve their dog as a ring bearer or something like that, she has developed this guide that's called the Pet Parent's Guide to Having Your Pet in Your Ceremony, and she will attach that. And she said it really helps because if she knows that that's what her customers want, they're more likely to book someone who already has thought of that. And also in terms of their pain points and what they're worried about, she'll have a list of testimonials that she's banked up and reviews from previous clients, and she'll just copy and paste the ones that reflect to sort of problem solve those things that they're worried about. So it's not just a blanket, this is my standard wedding kit. It's sort of has some components that can be personalized based on.
She's showing that she's an expert in the industry, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what we all are. We're experts in the industry. Cool. So I like this one. So I feel like Adele a lot of days when you're like, hello, it's me. Do you all know the song that I'm talking about? Anyway, how often do we follow up? This is probably one of my most frequently asked questions that I get when working with wedding businesses. It does depend on what stage of the planning process you're in. It does also depend on, so for example, as a celebrant, if I have someone that's inquiring for a date in 4 months, I know they're going to turn around quicker than someone that's inquiring for me as a celebrant in 20 months time. They might not be as urgent to book me. So when they're inquiring for will actually determine how quickly I follow up, but my first email is always super quick out the door. So after I send that initial email, within 24 hours, usually 12 hours, sometimes sooner than that, I will send a text message and say, hey, it's Belle from Wedding Belle Celebrant. Thanks again for considering me. I'm just letting you know I've emailed you. It may have gone to your junk mail. Ask them if there's a good time to chat. It might be, I'd love to organise a Zoom chat. Again, coming back to the call to action, you're more likely to get a response, right? And then sign it off with Belle from Wedding Belle Celebrant. So texting works quite well if you haven't heard back from them. If I get an inquiry at 8 a.m. in the morning, I'll probably text them at 6 p.m. at night. That's given them a good day to read their emails. If I haven't heard back from them, then I might be texting them, right? But if you get an inquiry at 10 p.m. tonight, don't then send them a text at 10 p.m. at night. That's a bit rude, right? Send them a text maybe mid-morning the next day, just to check that they've received the email okay. And again, it's super non-salesy. So here's an example of the second email I follow up. So this is if I've got a text back, I won't send back another email, I'll text them back. If that's the way they're communicating with me, I'll continue on the text train, right? If I haven't heard back to the email, I haven't heard back to the text message, I keep my next email again short and sweet. Hey, Mel, I hope you're having a great day. Have you had a chance to book your Celebrant as of yet? I do currently have your wonderful wedding day on Friday, the 15th of September, 2023 available. But spring is a super busy time, so this is subject to change. Again, I'm creating urgency, okay? I resend packages and my bit.ly link just so they can click on it again. I've made it nice and easy for them. Testimonials, I send them some testimonials. Hey, here's what other couples have said about me. Feel free to click on the link. Once you've had a chance to read through the links and packages, if you're interested to see if we're a good fit to bring your ceremony to life together, I'd love to schedule in some time. And then again, I finish with a call to action. I'd love to meet with you and your fiance virtually for an obligation-free consultation. Are you available Monday the 6th of February or Wednesday the 8th of February after 5:30 for a Zoom chat? What works best for you both? So rather than kind of just finishing it vague, I'm finishing it quite strong. So this next one was controversial. So I was debating whether to put this slide in, but I thought you guys are a good bunch. You'll take what you want out of it. So Alan Berg sells business coaching. So an example in his book, Shut Up and Sell More Weddings. If you haven't read it, definitely recommend buy it, buy the podcast, buy the book. It's great. It's taught me a lot over the years. But an example that he used of a follow-up is, hey, I tried to contact you regarding helping your business online at Alan Berg and haven't heard back from you. Let me know if you're interested and want to talk. You're interested but haven't had a chance to respond back. You're all set with your online cart and I should stop bothering you. I should follow up again in 3 months because, again, they might not be quite ready to book, but you want to know that they're interested and you're being chased by a bear and need me to call the animal police. Probably not as relevant in Australia, but anyway, we could mix it up a little bit. For me, like, I wouldn't go so strong because my personality is quite light and fluffy and fun. I do like it, but like I would just tweak it and make it a little bit more relevant for me. Okay, yikes. After all this follow-up, we've booked an appointment. So congrats, and I hope to be receiving some emails from you after this webinar. Just to tell me that you're booking some more appointments by changing a few of your sales tactics. But from the Celebrant piece, you want to be authentic and relaxed, or that works for me. When you're showing them around, if it's an in-person catch-up, just for an example from a venue perspective, an hour before any inspections, I would put the air conditioning on. When they walk in my atmosphere, I want them to feel relaxed, calm, and, you know, in a good mood. I also put love song acoustics in the background, so I always put my PA system on. Love song acoustics, when they're around, they're really relaxed, they're really vibing. And I always set up mock tables. You're not always going to have your function center set in the best light, but having a bridal table and 1 or 2 tables set up, this is what your table could look like. I would take around an iPad and show some photos of what the venue looks like set in different lights as well. So ask a lot of questions. So whether it's a Zoom, whether it's an in-person catch-up, ask questions, take notes, and show interest, right? The power of active listening. I know in the wedding industry, we're all very mostly extroverted personalities, myself included, and I want to talk so much all the time, but sometimes I just need to shut up. You know, shut up, you'll sell more weddings. So that's good advice.
It's mostly about the listening more than the shutting the up, but
yeah. You know, I think it's relevant for me. Find a package that suits their needs. If you are actively listening, you should be knowing exactly what they're looking for in your category. Talk them through the process of what happens next. Like, I'm not big on the hard sell. Usually in my initial Zoom consultations, I'll say, hey, just so you know, I'll hold this date for you for up to 7 days. If you do want to book me, let me know either way. I'd really appreciate it, because otherwise I'll release the date earlier. But if you do want to book me, you are required to pay a booking fee of how much, and the final payment is due 1 month prior. And I will also need a copy of my booking form filled out. So if you wouldn't mind letting me know either way what you've decided, that would be amazing. Because generally within 24 hours, I'll hear back from them. Yeah, Belle, we're looking to book. Can you send me those details that you discussed? So it just gives them time to fill out everything. If they're leaving not knowing how much they have to pay you to book you, how to book you, they're just going to be confused. So yeah, let them know. I like to talk. Thank you. Awesome. So tracking your pipeline, I will go through this a little bit quicker, as I know that we are meeting time now. So for a smaller business, I'm a celebrant. I do this part-time. I work full-time for Easy Weddings as well. So I use Easy Weddings, the sales tracker. It works for the size business that I have. You can update your statuses. Have I booked them? If I haven't booked them, is it because I'm unavailable on the date? Is it because I haven't been able to get in contact with them? Have I lost the booking? They've told me they've booked someone else. Because at the end of the day, this is useful for you when you're reviewing your marketing year on year. You can say, okay, each wedding for me is worth X, Y, Z, and you can work out how much you've directly booked. It's good as well if you don't have many bookings. We need to fix the sales process, right? So this is really useful for your own business information. This information is going to help you as a business owner.
Hey, Belle, a question from me. With the Wed CRM, can suppliers put in external data that they've got? So so if a couple is required not off on Easy Weddings, they can put their own data in here?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's way more modern than the Excel spreadsheet. Sorry for any Excel lovers out there. I do love Excel, but for certain things, not so much to track my sales pipeline. You can absolutely add your own sales leads. You might, as a celebrant, you might keep all your wedding leads in the CRM. You might track your potentially funeral leads somewhere else because it's not so wedding specific, and that's totally fine. So the other cool thing in the pipeline is you can also go back to previous data. We did start the Wed CRM in 2017 with Easy Weddings, so you can download old leads. You can see how you're tracking year on year in terms of your inquiries that are coming through directly. But some larger scale photography companies, venues, car companies, they also use other CRM systems such as Studio Ninja, HubSpot, Zoho, and Tarve are some popular ones that I've heard. I haven't personally used all of these systems, so I can't make a recommendation on which is better. You can sometimes do 1 month free trials, and yeah, give them a go. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to make your passion a business, so use these tools.
Great, and that brings us to the end. We've got some questions that have already come through on the Q&A, so if you have to drop off, by all means, please do that. We're past the hour now, but we'll hang on a little bit longer to address some questions. While we're doing that, I've also just wanted to remind you, if you haven't downloaded our wedding industry report, you can scan that QR code from your screen and it'll take you to a link where you can put in your details, and we'll send you out a copy as well. So yes, so there was a question a little bit earlier about the time frame between follow-ups. Do you have any advice for that?
Yes, so that will vary again based on when someone has inquired with you and when their wedding is. Like, for example, if a wedding's in 4 months' time as a celebrant, my first inquiry, send out straight away, my text message kind of within that 12 to 24 hours. If I haven't heard back from that, I might send them a follow-up email in 4 to 5 days, being a newer lead. If it's a wedding in 2025 or late 2024, I might send them in 7 days time, a follow-up. Hey, just wondering, like I'll tweak it slightly. If you're not quite ready to book someone, just so you know, my dates are subject to change. It's just kind of creating that sense of urgency. So again, it does depend on what category you're in and how soon they're inquiring for you in terms of your follow-up. I would love to give absolutely everyone the correct answer, but every category is different, and every, I guess, when someone's inquiring with you is also going to vary how likely they are to purchase from you. I know from a venue piece, I literally dealt with some sales leads for 12 months before they even booked. Like, they were just so overwhelmed by the process. They'd go through stages. They'd want to book, then they'd push it back a year. They bought a house, they had kids, like they were still interested, but I kind of did have to hand it over to them and say, when you're ready to start looking, let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome.
I did see a question before on flower packages being harder because of the seasonal, and I totally get that. I was working with a florist in Melbourne recently, and I suggested to them doing a booklet with seasonal flowers. So if you would like a seasonal bridesmaids bouquet, it's starting from $250. If you would like a bride's seasonal bouquet, it's starting from $300. If you're looking for a seasonal arbor decoration, it's starting from $600, for example. But if you would like a specific flower in a specific time, then it's price per acquisition. So that's kind of helped a few florists that I'm working with. And then the next page of their booklet, I suggested that they do some themes of what's in seasonal. So here is an example of a seasonal rustic bouquet. Here is an example of a minimalist bouquet. Like, you might also give examples. So someone might go, hey, I'm really looking for a seasonal bouquet, but I'd like a more traditional romantic one if possible.
Yeah, awesome.
Did that kind of help answer that question?
Hopefully. There was a question about, Sue Warner has said that her follow-ups are automated, and she said it's quite amazing how many couples reply after a third follow-up. So definitely it is worth reconnecting. I won't say pestering, but reconnecting. And did speak to a supplier a few months ago talking about his successes and how he does his follow up. And he basically said it's not the amount of times you follow up; it's in the way that you approach it. So it's in your tone. If you keep it kind of casual and say, "Hey, just checking in," just want to see if you've booked someone else. That's okay. Just let me know, kind of thing. The same sort of thing that Belle said earlier. So it's not about how many times you bother them. It's just how strong is your is your messaging. There was a question earlier about reviews in terms of how to sort of drip feed them and get them coming at a regular interval. I don't think that we can really control that. It's more just you might need to think about how often you reach out to your couples. So if you're thinking that you've got a lot of reviews in the last sort of week or so, maybe you'll just hold off going back to your couples and asking for reviews. Or if you haven't had reviews in a couple months, it might be a good time to sort of do that. So rather than sort of, connecting with all of your couples that you've done weddings for in the last 6 months in 1 week. Maybe just, try and trickle that out.
That will be relevant for Google reviews, but with Easy Weddings reviews, we do also list by the date of the wedding. So if you followed up and doing a bulk follow-up, that's no problem, because if I was married on the 15th of November versus the 1st of January, then it's going to be like it's going to show in the order of when my wedding took place. So that's not too bad. Follow up as much as you can. When I follow up reviews, I also look at like what's the couple doing after the wedding. So from a Celebrant piece, I definitely go in after the wedding and let them know that I've registered their wedding through births, deaths, and marriages. I send them a couple of photos that I took on my phone. I say how much fun that I had at the ceremony, because all of my couples are awesome. So we do have a lot of fun at the ceremony. You're giving them a little bit of information, and then you're saying, by the way, if you do have a moment before you go on your honeymoon, if you have time to leave me a review, please follow these links. I don't follow them up a week later because they're probably on their honeymoon, they're just recovering, but a month later I'd follow up for a review again, and just if they haven't left one already, because again, they're pretty busy after the wedding and they're probably pretty exhausted from the wedding planning. So whenever if you know what's going on in their life, it's going to help you know when to follow up in terms of reviews. I love that eDubs is asking me about fashion advice. Where's that skirt from in the question slide? I'll send you a link, Emma. It was online.
There was a question from Mark Vergara about reviews as well. How do you ask for multiple reviews on different platforms? Do you want to answer that, Belle?
Yeah, so it is, I do agree, it is hard sometimes, but I do also have people that leave reviews on multiple platforms. I just send them the link. You are welcome to send it on Easy Weddings. Here's the link. Google, here's the link. I don't bother with Facebook anymore. My target audience isn't there, so I'd rather divvy it between the two places that I want reviews. If they do Google, I sometimes go back to them and say, hey, would you mind if you put it on Easy Weddings as well, by the way? $2,500. So you go in the draw, here's the competition. And sometimes they'll put something similar in both places, no problem at all. They're not always going to, but even if you get 1 in 2, leaving it in 2 places, it's still more reviews on more platforms.
Rachel Stagg has asked a question about the check my date call to action that we mentioned earlier. Is that Belle? Is that it's another word for submit?
It's just another word for submit. Yeah, I don't have my booking calendar linked, but it's just another word instead of saying inquire now. I found that when I put as a celebrant, check my date, that my inquiries and my bounce back was less on my website based on my Google Analytics. So something that I tried, hopefully it works in your category as well, but it just makes it a little bit different than inquire now.
It's less salesy, I guess, more personal. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Petra's asked about advice on meeting clients at an expo and sort of following up as a next step. Would you recommend email is the best, or a call? Or?
Yeah, I've worked, particularly when I was working at Daydream Islands, like sometimes by the time people got through an expo, they were exhausted. Like they'd just spoken with 200, 300 suppliers and guaranteed they're going to be getting hundreds of emails or text messages or phone calls. Again, it depends on what stage of the planning process you're in, but I would always send them an email just with your information. You may have an expo deal that you're potentially running at that point in time, that you might say, hey, just letting you know you've got 30 days to take advantage of this deal. And then again, give them a call to action, whether that's I'd be happy to organize a Zoom chat. I'd love to show you around my venue. Just again, keeping it light-hearted, but also clear what the next steps are. Hopefully that answers your question.
Steve King's got a question about, I assume this is for Easy Weddings. His listing is row 34. As he scrolls down, how do you get that better? Do we know,
that would be what tier you're advertising in. So I'm sorry, Steve, I don't know what category you're in or what region you're in, but for example, you can pay for different tiers of advertising on Easy Weddings. So definitely reach out to your account manager and they can talk you through how to best utilize your advertising.
And Ree is asking about, I have my pricing available for download. Is this a mistake? Do you want to talk a little bit about price ranges and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a mistake to have it available for download. I prefer a download with a call to action or with, so if it's on your website and you're downloading a brochure, I'd prefer to get the lead information. What I do on Easy Weddings, I have starting prices on my listing, the essential bells starting from. So it's giving them an indication without giving them absolutely everything away, because me personally, I'm relatively good at closing the lead. So I would prefer to, get the lead in the first place. So there isn't a right or wrong, Ree. Again, it depends what category you're in and how much information you need to give. But I think if your text is comprehensive enough, then you'd probably want that inquiry so then you can send them the pricing to download.
Yeah, I'm just going to put a note in the chat. Oh, this isn't working. Anyway, what I was going to say in the chat is that if you want to talk to your account manager about, potentially, the price involved in changing categories or whatever, I'm just going to put the phone number here without context. So yeah, give us a call. You can Google us to find out how to connect with us. But yeah, 1-800-155-122 or email service@easyweddings.com.au, and those details will be in the replay link when I send it around. So yeah.
And Natasha, I will send out a review template as well. No problem. Not stretching the friendship. It's been a long friendship, so no problem at all.
Yeah, and that's a good point to raise. Like, if you want those additional resources from us, if you want some help in how to frame an email that asks for reviews or talks about the wedding, the cash competition that we have, feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for, and we have all those resources that we can share with you. We might wrap it up there because we're 15 minutes over our time. Don't want to keep everybody waiting. But yeah, please do reach out to us. That's what we're for. Happy to help. And the details are there. And again, I will send the replay shortly so you can watch the bits that you want, or if you've missed out, you can watch it again. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It was an awesome turnout. Obviously, thank Belle for being my wonderful special guest. And if there's anything more that you want to know, please, let us know in terms of other information resources, webinars for next time. If you're not already on our Wedding Supplier Network Instagram, join that. Again, that's a business-to-business page. It's not for the customers. This is just purely for our business community. But yeah, I would love to keep seeing those faces come in, and we'll keep you posted with our next webinar, which should be just before Easter. We're still working on that, but I'm sure if you keep your ear to the ground and across all of our socials, you will find out about it very soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the lovely words. I was a little bit nervous, so I appreciate all the lovely words that you're sending through. And to the webinar link, if you've got any questions or have anything else you want answered, just reply back to Mel's email or any feedback. We would love to know how we can assist you better get the most with your wedding business. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. And I'm sure we'll speak to you online or in the next webinar.
Okay, see you later. Thanks, Mel.
Bye-bye.